downtown Miami, cloudy and rainy again today, which means nice to be inside, along with the bobbleheads. The Marlins and the Blue Jays. The Fish have dropped 4 under. A tailspin, 14 of their last 16 they've lost. Blue Jays looked good last night. Marlins try to even the score today. Rich Waltz along with Tommy Hutton. We talked about how do you stop this slide? How do you turn things around? The Marlins have shown life offensively, but the other piece of the puzzle hasn't arrived.
Yeah, the offense seems to be coming around a little bit, but it all begins with that starting pitcher, and today it's going to be JJ's turn.
Okay, and some energy would be nice from this ball club. All they have to do is look across the diamond, and the leadoff hitter, a youngster for the Blue Jays, Brett Laurie, was impressive last night.
You know, we see interleague teams, and we get an opportunity to see players we don't see all the time, and this 22-year-old was impressive. Look at the breaking ball. He takes down the right field line for a triple, a base hit up the middle for a single. Brett Laurie had another hit coming up, a base hit to left field. So he used all the fields. He also got himself a stolen base, and he scored 4 times. He hasn't been hitting in the leadoff position all year, but the last 15 games he's hit at the top of the lineup for the Jays and has hit around .330.
Okay, the other piece of the puzzle now, the pitching matchup here. If the Marlins were to pick one starter of the 5 that's had good starts over the last 7, 8 starts, Josh Johnson's probably that guy.
Yeah, he is. I think he has to turn it around a little bit from his last time out against the Rays. He fell behind too much. He was pitching behind pretty much the entire game. But in his 15th start, he goes against the Jays, a team he's pitched well against. He's 2-0 in his career against Toronto. Brett Cecil is a left-hander. Look out, he's got the curveball, so be alive for that today.
Marlins, Jays, Marlins trying to stop the slide, and we're trying to pick in. We're picking to click. How can the Marlins stop this slide? We'll tell you who's got whom next. Blue Jays. Let's go out to center field. Craig Minervini, Jeff Conine, looking good in the Tommy Bahamas.
Yeah, back to you.
Likewise, right back at you.
We're going to see if your picks are looking good here, Jeff, because I always like to look at some way to kind of help out and pick our guy to help the Marlins break out of the slide here today. So let's take a look at these and get your thoughts here. A look at Rich and Tommy are going with for their pick to click. Omar Infante, Tommy riding handling a little bit. Raul Stryker Jr. goes with Giancarlo. Cookie goes with Jose Reyes. I'm going to go with Loma. I'll give you my thought in a second. You're going with Gabby.
Gabby, he made a little adjustment yesterday, had some really good at-bats, poised to break out of this season-long slump, so I'm going with Gabby.
All right, and the crack staff with Justin Ruggiano. I know I'm going against the grain here because they're facing the lefty, Brett Cecil, but this season has gone against the grain. The way it's gone, the crazy winning streak, the terrible losing streaks. So against the grain, Lomo's getting a little warmer. He's hitting the ball better of late, a little more power. So I'm going to go with Lomo, lefty against lefty, the pick today. But Justin Ruggiano is a good one, too, from the crack staff because I really like the way he's been playing. The question is going to be, is Ozzie going to give him a little more playing time against right-handed pitching? We addressed it a bit last night. We'll have to get Ozzie's thoughts on it, but you'd expect that may be something coming down the line.
Well, if you expect, I think he's given quite a little bit of a spark to the offense. Whenever he's in there, he's been aggressive. He's taking really good at-bats, playing a great center field, so why not?
All right, would he be the odds-on favorite? He might be in this pick to click.
Well, as far as at-bats, quality at-bats lately, I think he might be up there. And, well, you're lefty against lefty. Logan hits lefties very well, so you might be a good pick as well.
I need to get 3-1 or 4-1 of mine. Coming up, we got baseball for you. Game 2 of the 3-game series. The Marlins and the Blue Jays. Marlins looking at Josh Johnson. He's another guy you might want to put your faith in. He's been pitching very well of late for the Marlins. Looks to get the 5-5 ball game coming up on Fox Sports Florida.
Toyota. Visit your local Toyota dealer today for great deals on an amazing lineup of Toyota vehicles. Toyota moving forward. By AT&T, the nation's largest 4G network. AT&T, rethink possible. And by Papa John's. Right now at Papa John's, get any large pizza, even specialties, for only $12. A little hand-rolled cigar. Come on inside Marlins Park as the Marlins try to beat the Blue Jays this afternoon. Afternoon baseball, the first one out of the chute in Major League Baseball today. And here come the Blue Jays. Brett Laurie, incredible last night. Colby Rasmussen center. Jose Bautista homered, tied for the American League lead now with Adam Dunn. Edwin Encarnacion's having a good season. Kelly Johnson at second. You know Escobar at short. Rajay Davis in left. Jeff Mathis gets a start behind the plate. Brett Cecil hits ninth. Pinch a Penny brings you the first pitch, delivered by 6'7" Josh Johnson. His fastball misses low and inside. JJ making start number 15.
And Rich, as of late, JJ has not been part of the problem. Since May 9th, his ERA is 2.73 and he's 4-2.
And it's popped up. Infante is there, and he makes the catch. The overall season numbers for Josh Johnson, remember the struggle that he had his first 5 or 6 starts.
Yeah, it just seems as if every outing has got a little bit better. He slipped back a little last time, but even though he gave up 8 hits in 6 innings, he didn't get any offense. He lost 3-0 in that game against the Rays, and battled. He had base runners, but he battled every inning, and that's the kind of pitcher he is. He'd like to get ahead a little more, and he'd also like to see a little more offense behind him.
Colby Rasmus digs in, goes after the first pitch, lines it into left center field. That's well hit. Over for it is Morrison. Lomo glides in. If Lomo could glide, he would glide in and make the catch.
And he would love the fact that you used the term glide, him going after a ball. Cleveland Clinic brings you the defense. Well positioned was Logan Morrison. Ruggiano in center. Giancarlo in right field. Hanley, Reyes, Infante, and Gabby, and Brett Hayes starting this game behind the plate.
Just the fact that JJ got Brett Lawrie feels like the Marlins have some momentum now. Lawrie scored 4 runs last night because this guy was busy driving him in. Bautista produced an RBI in 3 different at-bats. He was 2 for 3. An RBI single, walked with the bases loaded, and his most impressive was the home run that he hit on a pitch that you would think was not a pitch you could hit out of the ballpark, especially this ballpark, to left field. Here's the 1-1 coming. And it's down low.
It's interesting, you and I talking with Joey Cora and with Ozzie before the game about Jose Bautista. We saw him in his early days when he wasn't the Jose Bautista of the last couple of years. They've seen him the last couple of years in his impressive numbers.
We posed the question to both of them, and here's a look at the modern day Jose Bautista. Watch this pitch. Look where it is. That's off the plate, and he hits it out to left with some carry. 2-2 coming. Bautista lines that one to right. That's well hit. Stanton back up and makes the catch. Josh Johnson, nicely done. 9-pitch hitting for JJ. Johnson a 1-2-3 top half. Brett Cecil will look at this lineup for the Marlins. Jose Reyes, Hanley Ramirez, Giancarlo Stanton, Logan Morrison in the cleanup spot. Justin Ruggiano keeps hitting, and he's back in there in center field. Omar Infante's starting to break out right now. Gabby Sanchez with a 3-hit night last night. Brett Hayes will do the catching. JJ will hit 9th.
And there's a look at Brett Cecil, who actually has pitched in AA and AAA this year. He's making his second start with all the injuries the Jays have had to their starting rotation. The goggled Brett Cecil. He wears those goggles a little bit because it helps him see the signs better, but also a little bit because of superstition. So we'll see how that works out for him today. His last time out was against the Phillies, and he picked up the win. Gave up 5 hits and a couple of runs in his 5 innings of work.
Cecil, a guy that had a terrific 2010, 15-7 that year. Struggled a bit last year, and he was actually pitching in AA to start the year.
Pretty amazing. He'd be a 15-game winner and then find himself at AA this year.
Here's Jose Reyes with Hanley Ramirez, Giancarlo Stanton behind him. And Cecil delivers outside. Reyes 1 for 4 last night. Marlins trying to get started against the Jays. Last night the Marlins didn't know what hit him. Maybe a bit sleepy after walking in the door at 5 in the morning coming back from Boston, but the Marlins were on their heels from the get-go last night. The Jays jumped them for 6 early runs. John Farrell's ball club was up 6-0 before the Marlins got on the board.
There's that changeup. We saw numerous changeups last night from Ricky Romero. Good live fastball. Cecil will throw the changeup. He'll throw a curveball as well.
University of Maryland star. In a sandwich pick, that's the supplemental round between the first and second round back in 2007. He's only 25, so he got to the big leagues early. Had some success, a little bit of a setback last year. Jays are hoping that he can fill the void left by the trio of starters that are out. That pitch misses outside. Reyes is aboard, a leadoff walk. And the scouting report on Brett Cecil.
Brought to you by Coventry Healthcare. He has that big 12-6 curve, the circle change. Now with Reyes at first, maybe not the best of moves when he lifts that leg. His best move is stepping off, that snap throw over to first base. I could have added one more. A Terrapin closer.
Nice.
Because he was the closer at Maryland.
Hanley Ramirez last night, a couple of hits. And as we've documented, a couple of sessions with Eduardo Perez and Ozzie Guillen. Hanley mechanically trying to get everything back on track. Cecil a long wait with Reyes at first. Too long for Hanley, who steps out. Ramirez last night singled in his last at bat. He also walked in the ball game. The Marlins offense, which at times was quite frigid during the last 2.5 weeks, has put 5 runs on the board, exactly 5 runs in their last 3 ball games. Actually 4 ball games going back now.
That's a good news. 5 runs last 4 ball games, 20 runs. The problem is over those 4 games the Marlins have been outscored 40-20.
And thus the importance of the Josh Johnson start in this ball game. Reyes sizing up Cecil. 16 stolen bases for Jose. Cecil comes with a slide step, and that changeup almost has a screwball effect to it. It kind of turns it over.
Kind of moves away from right-handed hitters. A good take by Hanley on that last one.
Encarnacion holding Reyes. Hanley hits a sharp ground ball. Laurie picks it, and Johnson turns it. That was kind of an Olay job by Brett Laurie at third, but he got it cleanly, which meant he had plenty of time to feed Johnson for the double play turn.
My goodness, this ball was smoked by Hanley, And you're right, it's a do-or-die play for a third baseman. Short hop, top spin, and Laurie picks it. Once he gets it over to second, it's an easy 5-4-3 double play.
I'll tell you, Brett Laurie, and we've only seen him for, what, 10 innings now? It is very impressive. He had a fine night offensively and defensively last night. Giancarlo Stanton now.
The Blue Jays are a team that will throw some shifts on hitters, lefties and righties. Kind of an interesting alignment with Giancarlo up there right now.
He pulls that one foul. Yeah, the left side with Escobar and Laurie are really well over. But they don't bring Kelly Johnson, the second baseman, behind the bag at second. There's a look at it.
Yeah, there's room up the middle. And Escobar is filling that hole on the left side.
Ball and 2 strikes. An all-or-nothing night for Stanton last night. He was 1 for 5. That one was his 16th home run, but he struck out 3 times. Here's the 1-2. And in our conversation with Ozzie Guillen, a couple of the strikeouts came with a couple runners on, and Guillen has tried to impart to Stanton that, hey, look, if they're not going to pitch to you, don't go out of the zone. Because on a couple of those strikeouts, Stanton chased balls that were well out of the zone. Here's the 2-2. Breaking ball, fly ball, foul.
Take a look at the Blue Jays defensively, brought to you by Cleveland Clinic. Davis, Rasmus, Bautista, Laurie, Escobar, Johnson, Encarnacion around the infield. Jeff Mathis did not start or play last night. He's behind the plate today. I think a lot of times, Rich, and you make a good point, and today even more so, given the fact that Logan Morrison's hitting behind Giancarlo. Lomo left-handed bat. Brett Cecil, left-handed pitcher.
Let's see what he gets. 3-2. Breaking ball hammered foul. And remember the sequence with Ricky Romero on the mound. Romero actually asked his catcher, J.P. Arancibia, to come out to the mound. And you said it, and it really appeared that Romero said, look, I don't want anything to do with this guy. Let's waste one and see if he goes after it. And he did. 3-2 coming. That's in. And that's exactly what Ozzie was talking about. Great example. Stanton took his hacks. When he got to 2 strikes, a little more cautious, a little more selective, and he takes his walk.
Hey, he got to 2 strikes. He saw a breaking ball that he fouled off, and then Cecil tried to move a fastball in on him. And speaking of shifts, with Logan Morrison coming up, there goes that shifting infield. And dipping deep into right field is the second baseman, because Kelly Johnson, he's almost going out of our picture.
And much like the Marlins used to shift, it's Brett Laurie, the third baseman, who is over occupying what normally would be the second baseman spot. With Escobar staying over there, now Morrison shortens the bunt.
Yeah, the last couple of times that Lomo has gone up with a big shift on, we saw him start to make a little adjustment, be it with showing bunt or trying to drop one down or trying to hit a ball that way a little bit.
This is as far as I've ever seen a second baseman.
Can't believe it. I've never seen
right
a second
field.
baseman that far.
Here's the 1-0 pitch coming. Breaking ball misses down low. Look at how far he is.
Jason Kipnis in Cleveland was not that
far.
Not that far.
Remember, Morrison drove the ball well to left center in Boston.
And had great swings against a left-handed pitcher.
Yes, he did. Homered against Felix Dubron. One of the best balls he hit. He pops that one up. That's going to be a run for Escobar. He's into foul territory and he makes the catch. Brett Cecil gets Logan Morrison, works around a pair of first inning walks. Gray. In Miami this afternoon, Josh Johnson goes to work. Edwin Encarnacion takes down low. Coventry Healthcare second inning. Encarnacion, part of a tag team that has been the most powerful duo in baseball and the American League. Right behind Jose Bautista. JJ slider for a strike. Encarnacion overshadowed, I think, because he plays behind Bautista. But he's had a solid year. 20 homers, driven in 49, 13 doubles.
That'd be one of those nice trivia questions around baseball. The most prodigious home run duo. I think a lot of people wouldn't get it correct. A lot of people who follow the game.
Yeah, and it's by a great margin. They have 7 more, Bautista and Encarnacion, than Adam Dunn and Paul Konerko of the White Sox.
Right now, Bautista tied with Dunn in that home run lead.
If you want to go back into Blue Jay history, the 43 combined homers are the most by a Toronto duo prior to July 1st since.
Let me throw out a couple of guesses.
All right.
How about no, you were going to say 03. I was going to say George Bell, Jesse Barfield.
No, you got to go further up.
Oh, okay.
Got to go into the
Carlos Delgado.
There you go. That's one. Bautista or Encarnacion has walked. Yes, Crackstaff got it. Vernon Wells combined with Carlos Delgado back in 03. They had 46 at this point. This pair has 43. Kelly Johnson now. JJ's got a base runner. And Tommy, you were right when you talked about Josh Johnson's last start. As you see Kelly Johnson's numbers. JJ's last start was, his line was very, I guess not very illustrative of what a struggle it was for him. And in his own words, he said it was a struggle. He didn't have his best of stuff his last start against the Rays.
You know, the good news about that is that he was able to battle and really only allowed the 2 runs in 6 innings, giving up 8 hits and 4 walks. That's 12 base runners and allowed just 2 runs.
One. Kelly Johnson last night, emblematic of what the Jays were able to do in getting runs home without base hits. And Kelly Johnson was a big part of that. He had 2 sacrifice flies. He did have an RBI single. But the Jays had 3 sacrifice flies, a couple bases loaded walks, and a ground ball out, all producing runs.
That's amazing. 6 runs without a base hit.
Johnson, the Texan, is 30. A converted outfielder. Remember when the Braves made that move, moving him from outfield to second base? That pitch misses down low. We talked about Mike Aviles having the Tommy John surgery as a position player. Johnson had Tommy John surgery as well. Jeff Conine on that list of position players that have had Tommy John surgery.
You know, if not for guys like Dan Uggla and Robinson Cano, you'd be talking about Kelly Johnson and his power as a second baseman.
He started the year last year with Arizona and finished with Toronto. 2 good places to hit. And he had 21 home runs. He's locked in right now in a full count. Encarnacion from first is on his way to second, taken outside, and the throw down to second is meaningless, although it was a good throw by Brett Hayes. And as a catcher, sometimes if it's a borderline pitch, you just go ahead, and if you got a good ball to throw, make sure you make a good throw. Hayes did that. Here's a look.
Yeah, you have to follow through with the play because you're not 100% sure. Of course, the runner, Encarnacion, heard ball 4, so he pulled up. He knew there wasn't a play, and all of a sudden, JJ in a jam, walking the first 2 hitters.
And this was a similar spot for Johnson in St. Petersburg against the Rays. A lot of base runners. He walked 4, gave up 8 hits in 6 innings. Rays got just 3 runs in the ball game. Nice bunt. JJ picks it up, fires to first in time. Yunel Escobar executing, and the Blue Jays so far have done everything right offensively in this series. Tomorrow's a family Sunday. Marlins and Blue Jays, another 1:10 start. Make sure you get here for Snapshot Sunday. Kids get a Heath Bell jersey courtesy of the University of Miami Health System. It can run the bases after the game in the Diamond Dash. 1-877-MARLINS, or go to marlins.com. There's some great giveaways on this homestand, and we will show you a little bit later on in the show not only that Heath Bell jersey, but a bobblehead on Wednesday night, a bobblehead night for Josh Johnson. Rajay Davis, swing and a miss.
Now the Blue Jays trying to do the same thing they did in the ball game last night. Runner at third, in this case second and third with 1 out. And because we're in the second inning, the infield's back.
That puts Josh Johnson in strikeout mode, though. JJ is looking for some swings and misses. He got one on the first pitch to Davis. He had 2 hits last night. Shortens the bunt. Encarnacion was creeping but not coming full speed down third base. It's a ball and a strike. Davis, a veteran speedster, 31, second year with the Blue Jays. Pushes the bunt off the mound. Johnson's going to go to the plate. Hayes can't get there in time. Scoring is Encarnacion, and once again the Blue Jays execute and have a 1-0 lead.
Yeah, that was more of a safety squeeze. It wasn't a suicide squeeze because the runner at third, Encarnacion, wasn't breaking as the pitch was made. He came to the plate as the bunt was dropped down. A difficult play for JJ. I think in hindsight he'd go to first base, get the out because it's only in the second inning. But when your team has struggles, you think you try to force plays at times. He thought he had an out at the plate. You can't fault him for that. And the Blue Jays pick up a run.
And you got a guy who can steal second at first right now in Davis. It's going to be a fielder's choice. The Blue Jays still don't have a hit And Johnson steps towards third. Davis had broken towards second, but then got back.
Yeah, sacrifice and a fielder's choice for Rajai Davis. And an RBI to complete the scoring.
But Davis has tipped his hand at first. He's likely running early in this count. Not on this pitch. Roller up the middle. Got one there, and Fonte quickly to first in time. And without any more damage, the Marlins end the inning. Blue Jays get a run without a hit and lead it 1-0.
En SAP por Coventry Healthcare of Florida.
In Miami this afternoon, the Marlins and the Blue Jays. John Farrell has shown in these first two ball games he's not afraid to put the game in motion, to send runners, to hit and run, to bunt. And his Blue Jays are a scrappy bunch. They have executed quite well. We talked about the 6 runs they got last night without getting a base hit, and they have an RBI on a safety squeeze. There's Don Wakamatsu as bench coach.
It's not the typical style of play when you think of the American League East.
No, or even the, from the outside looking at the Blue Jays, you think about guys cranking balls out of Rogers Center.
Second in the major leagues in home runs.
Yes. Justin Ruggiano, Omar Infante, Gabby Sanchez against the lefty Brett Cecil. Oh, 1 pitch to Ruggiano. Changeup. Cecil's mixed in that off-speed pitch effectively. Here's a guy that in 2010 had a perfect game into the 7th inning against Cleveland. He ended up winning the ball game 5-1, 8 innings of 1-hit ball, struck out 10. He led the Jays in wins that year with 15. He had started the season in AAA that year. Ruggiano keeps battling, and the count's 0-2. Justin last night 1 for 2, a couple of walks and a double, and his nice run continues with the Marlins.
Continues to put together nice at bats, 7 doubles, a triple, couple of home runs.
Eventually, and the Marlins are hopeful that it's within a couple weeks, Emilio Bonifacio is going to be back and playing center field every day. So for a guy like Ruggiano, the more he can show the Marlins that he's capable of providing pop from this side of the plate and playing multiple outfield spots, the better chance he has sticking with the ball club.
Speaking of Bonifacio, he was taking some swings off the tee, right-handed. Hopes to increase that, start swinging left-handed, start taking a little light toss off the into the screen, swing some off the tee, and then progress to batting practice. He hopes he's on target and is ready by the All-Star break to play some rehab games, and then in that series against Washington right after the break.
Omar Infante pushes a bunt up the first base side, and he is thrown out on an athletic play by Jeff Mathis, who's always been a very good defensive catcher. Guy from Marietta, Florida.
You know what? When your career average is below 200, you better be a good defensive catcher, and he is. And a guy who saw that a lot was one of his former managers, Mike Scioscia. So a guy like Scioscia understands the benefits of having a strong defensive catcher back there. That's a nice play.
Mathis getting the start in place of JP Arancibia. Day game after night game, and you would expect to see Arancibia in there tomorrow. All right, Gabby now. The 3 hits last night pumped his average up to 199. And for Gabby, looking for improvement at the plate, he saw it last night for sure. 3 hits, including a homer. And he takes a strike.
You kind of hope the reverse for Gabby compared to the last couple of years. You remember the last couple of years, very strong in the first half and tailed off the second half. Now you'd like to see Gabby get strong as we near the All-Star break and then the second half of the season.
Takes a big rip. And it's 0-2. A little more upright at the plate. That's been one of the things that Gabby Sanchez and Eduardo Perez have been working on. Gabby's always kind of had that spread out Jeff Bagwell type stance. Oh, 2. Cecil buries it in the dirt. You lose 3 starters from your rotation, as the Jays have. Brandon Morrow, Kyle Drabeck. They did get some good news on Drew Hutchinson that he will not require Tommy John surgery with his elbow discomfort. Morrow injured an oblique. The Jays are, Tommy, like a lot of teams around the 500 mark. The Jays are now over the 500 mark at 36 and 34. They're right in that wild card chase because of that extra wild card spot.
You know, I think if you're a John Farrell, though, you're not thinking about all those numbers where you are in that spot. Your goal is to try to win the division, and then as things get a little closer in September, then you start looking at it a little more closely.
It's a good pitch by Cecil, breaking ball that just floated in, and he strikes out Gabby Sanchez. Sanchez didn't think so. 1-0 Toronto.
A lot of Canadian fans are here rooting on the Toronto Blue Jays, including this group, all the way from, well, Newfoundland via Alberta. Is that right?
That's right.
I do want to ask you, the time zone in Newfoundland is what? A half hour difference?
An hour and a half from Eastern. Hour and a half away from Eastern.
Any reason for that?
We have our own time zone. There's no other reason needed.
Now, you have what turns out to be the old Toronto. Do you like the Blue Jay uniform with the black in it, or the one that...
I kind of like the new ones, but I never got the memo about the boys getting the new ones. So.
The best one here, this is Jared. Jared, you got it after the picture. Stand up so we can see. You don't only have the uniform on with JP Arancibia, you got the full getup.
Well, I'm kind of a big deal around here, though.
Is that right?
Yeah. No, we're just trying to have some fun. It's been a great time, and most of the fans here think we're ball players, and it's entertaining.
You have is that the old Blue Jay pants?
These are actually game-worn pants from 1996. The whole bit. Yeah, no, it's fun.
I guess it's kind of like tennis, you know, when they dress just in case they need another player. They call you right in.
Our bullpen's been lately, man. They could use an arm anytime, right? We got to be ready for John when he needs us.
All right, guys from Alberta. Good to see you guys. And Newfoundland. I guess they moved from Newfoundland to work it. That's the deal. To Alberta. Guys, good seeing you. All right. Back to you.
That's it's the thing about the Blue Jays. And you played up there, Tommy. You played for both the Expos and the Blue Jays. It's an entire country that's behind you.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Even though the Expos were first, and at that time, early on, they were seen and heard all throughout Canada. Many heard Dave Van Horn. But when the Blue Jays came into being in '77, all of a sudden they seemed to attract more of the other parts of Canada.
Morrison racing and gets it. Logan Morrison for the second time venturing into that gap. This one a tougher catch. And he robs Brett Laurie of extra bases. That might have been a triple.
So far, Logan Morrison's been getting in the right position. He gets a good jump, nears that track, is able to. The key right here is that he's able to make the catch, put it away. He's on the track right now, and then brace himself as he runs into that fence.
So here's Colby Rasmus.
And certainly, Rich, what helped the Blue Jays in the early 90s when they won back-to-back World Series, 92 and 93.
Even before then, they won a couple of Eastern Division titles and got to the postseason, got close to the World Series. Speaking of close, Colby Rasmus is really close to the plate. And that's a real departure from the high leg kick stance that he used to have.
And our research and asking questions about that is something that Dwayne Murphy, the hitting instructor, actually went to visit Colby Rasmus in the offseason and made that suggestion to him. He used to have a little bit of the leg kick, a little higher. Now he kind of real easy, drops it down softly, and is on top of the plate.
Well, he's had results with it too, which is the most important thing. He hit just .225, had 14 homers last year. He's already got a dozen home runs this year, and that liner finds the glove of Infante. It's a 1-0 ball game. participating retailer. Look for the Corona Light display for details on how to enter and win. Relax responsibly. Always got to wait for the good sound effect to wash over. You can't talk over that. And
you can't talk over the wave.
Got to soak it up and let it sink in. All right, the Marlins trying to get something going against Brett Cecil. The interesting thing about this ball game is there are no hits in the game, and the Blue Jays have a 1-0 lead. Josh Johnson, a couple of walks, a sacrifice bunt, and then a safety bunt, safety squeeze, so to speak, that knocked in the only run for the Blue Jays. Hayes, Josh Johnson, Jose Reyes. Two-0 pitch. Hayes pops up a fastball. Mathis tosses the mask and makes the catch. This copyrighted telecast presented by the authority, the Miami Marlins, may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. Accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Miami Marlins.
If JJ can help himself. Just 1 for 17. He's a little better hitter than that.
Cecil hasn't been dominant in this ballgame. You saw the Hayes at bat. He fell behind 2-0 and got a pop-up. He's 2-0 against Josh Johnson. Two-one. Fastball misses up. Top of the order, Jose Reyes. And Cecil throws a strike. The Marlins are 4 under, having dropped 14 of the last 16, and that precipitous fall started when the Fish were tied for first place. Check swing. Did not go. And how about that? Josh Johnson works a walk. So the Marlins, the first time through, have 3 walks against Brett Cecil. Talked about the Marlins record. Here are the Tico standings presented by Tico, of course, the People's Gas. Miami 8 back at 33 and 37. The Phillies 8.5 back. The Nationals lost a 1-run game last night.
Yeah, 2-1 loss to the Orioles. Nice outing for Jason Hamill, Baltimore.
Reyes takes down low. Now Reyes walked in the first. It looked like the Marlins had something going. Hanley Ramirez had a sharp ground ball that was speared by Brett Laurie at third, and that started a 5-4-3 double play. Mathis, look how quickly he pops out. If you're going to get a bunt hit against the Blue Jays with Mathis behind the plate, you're going to have to push it away from the plate.
Yeah, you don't want him to field it.
Mathis hopped out and got Omar Infante in the second when he was trying to bunt for a hit. JJ has one of the smallest leads of the year at first base, and rightfully so. Reyes shoots a ball to right. Batista back and makes the catch.
Yeah, at 6'7", JJ could just fall back and land on the bag. Actually landed foul territory a little bit. Really surprised they're even holding it.
I think that's where Reyes was trying to go with that pitch.
Yeah, especially with a left-hander on the mound. Totally surprised that Encarnacion's holding it.
Hanley, that sharp grounder for a double play in the first. Blue Jays don't have a real severe shift for Hanley, and he dumps that one into center field. Broke his bat. Rasmus picks it up. And a base hit for Hanley, his third of the series.
Yeah, that pitch tailed away a little bit. Looked like Hanley caught it on the end of the bat. Broke the bat, but takes the base hit.
And importantly, it gets Giancarlo Stanton to the plate. That's the first hit of the ball game for either team. And this is that spot that Ozzie talked to us about with Stanton at the plate. Don't try to do too much. Don't be too anxious. So catches the corner for a strike. It's 0-1. Ball and a strike.
You go back in your mind. This is where it becomes a fine line. You don't want to start thinking too much, but you have to kind of remember how he pitched you before.
Tried to get in with off-speed stuff with breaking ball. Stanton pulled a couple of those balls and then ended up taking the walk. You saw Mathis creep inside. He tried to come in there with a fastball at 89 miles an hour.
I think he'll go back soft stuff now, probably away.
Josh Johnson at second, Hanley Ramirez at first. Stanton awaiting a 2-1 pitch. And that one, I think Cecil left up a little bit.
Yeah, he missed with a fastball, and that was a pretty good pitch to hit. That may scare him from throwing that same pitch again. Wanted it in. Boy, that was middle of the plate. That was a good pitch to hit. Giancarlo just fouled it back.
Two. Breaking ball hammered into right, base hit. Remember, that was JJ at second, and he's held at third. What a laser beam by Bautista from right.
That is one of the hardest hit singles you're going to see on a breaking ball out over the plate, and that's a great approach by Giancarlo. Watch this. There's a curveball. He just stays on top of it and hammers it. 2 quick hops to Bautista, and when he got that ball, JJ wasn't even at third.
Well, Miami has a couple of hits, but it's all come with 2 outs. Logan Morrison popped out. Let's see what the Jays do with their shift. Not as extreme against Morrison. Cecil drops in a breaking ball for a strike.
Yeah, with the bases loaded, certainly it can't be as extreme. Kelly Johnson, if you remember, was 25 yards deeper into right field than he is now.
And Morrison pops that one up. Encarnacion and Mathis. Encarnacion makes the catch. And a frustrating day so far for Logan Morrison and the Fish. Cleveland Clinic, 4th inning in Miami. Second game of the series. Blue Jays winners last night in big fashion. Josh Johnson back to work. Hasn't given up a hit, but remember the Blue Jays constructed a rally, a couple of walks, and a sacrifice. Sacrifice bunt by Rajay Davis did the trick. Jose Bautista climbs in. Edwin Encarnacion and Kelly Johnson. Bautista lined out back in the first. We are joined by Marlins Vice President General Manager Mike Hill. Welcome to the booth.
Thank you, guys.
Nice to have you up here.
First time up here.
Yeah.
Nice view here. You guys have pretty good seats.
Yes, it is.
No complaints.
All right, we have a lot of things to ask you. As the Marlins trail here by a score of 1-0.
I hope I have the answers.
From your perspective, what have you seen over this last 16-game span, which the Marlins have won just 2 ball games?
I think for me, I've seen a very inconsistent ball club. And I think you look at us through April, you look at us through the tremendous May, and June is just we're back with a lot of similar questions that we had. Offensively, an inconsistent offense, but the biggest difference for us is that we aren't getting the starting pitching, or we haven't gotten the starting pitching that has kept us in ball games.
Which leads me to a question for today, Mike. What have you seen in Josh Johnson? He looks like he's throwing the ball pretty well today.
The one thing that we've all been very pleased with is the progress that he's made over the course of the season. And we all knew that he was going to be a little rusty, having missed 4 months, essentially 4 months last year, getting back in a competitive situation and the juice is going and doing the things that he needs to do to be successful. And I think we're starting to see those things. A lot more efficient with his pitches, ability to command the ball to both sides of the plate, which he wasn't doing earlier in the year. And I think that's why we're seeing him go deeper into games.
JJ has fallen behind Edwin Encarnacion. Here's his 2-0 pitch at the knees. Now a lot of fans, a lot of writers, not just for the Marlins, but for other teams. Boston, we heard it in Boston, talking about how can a general manager at this point in the season help his ball club, because it's a little different this year with that second wild card. Just about everybody is still within a stone's throw of that wild card spot.
Oh, definitely. And then you look at what the Cardinals were able to do last year. 10 games out of the wild card, essentially the first week of September, and they come back and they get in, and then that's all you need. You need a ticket to the dance, and once you get in, you got a chance to do that. So obviously you're watching your team, and Larry and I are constantly on the phone talking to other clubs, assessing what their needs are, and you're trying to assess what your needs are here. We know that we have a lot of talent here. It's performed inconsistently, as I've said, but you have to trust in your evaluation when it's all said and done, and know that your coaching staff is working with these guys to try to get them where they need to be, so that eventually your club can get where you want to go.
1-0 pitch to Kelly Johnson.
I guess one of the questions, too, and we get this from emails and tweets, talk about the month of May where the club played so well. Is the club as good as it was in May, or are they as bad as they've been here in June?
Well, that's always what you get, and you're probably never as good as you play when you're on a streak, and you're probably never as bad as you are when you're not playing very well. But I think this is part of the process, which we felt with this ball club. You have a core of veteran players, in Reyes and Hanley and Infante, and then you have some young emerging players that are extremely talented in the Stantons and the Morrisons, and with young players are going to have their ups and downs. And I think you saw in May, you saw a team that was clicking offensively where Stanton had got really hot and put the team on their shoulders and helped us win ball games. But I think in those times when you're struggling, that's when you really look to your veteran players. You look to the Jose Reyes, the Hanley Ramirez's, the Omar Infantes, the guys that have been through it before. 2 former batting champions that have been through this before, and that's where they really need to step up.
Liner to right, Giancarlo reaches and makes the catch. At the warning track, he runs it down. We'll be back after this from the Cleveland Clinic, Florida. Blue Jays on top. Blue Jays on top without a hit right now. AT&T trivia question always arrives in the 4th. Flip the phone. First Blue Jay voted to start an All-Star game.
First Blue Jay.
Go back to the George Bell era.
I think you have to go back to the George Bell era.
How about a Tony Fernandez?
How about Robbie Alomar? Maybe they didn't get a guy voted in until those World Championship teams in the early 90s.
I'm guessing probably late 80s in that George Bell era. I'll go with George Bell. I think that's a safe bet.
How about Joe Carter? Remember that Carter was involved in the trade
a little bit later. But
later.
I like the era, the Bell or Lloyd Mosby, somebody like that.
Very offensive teams back then.
Here's a guy, Mike, we've talked about different players. Did the Marlins have Justin Ruggiano on their radar even before he was acquired by the club back in spring training?
He definitely was, just because we looked at the makeup of our lineup and of our roster, and we felt like we were very left-handed with Lomo, with Coughlin, with Peterson, with Cousins. We didn't have that right-handed outfield complement, and that was a big reason why we went and got Austin Kearns. But in that research and identifying Austin Kearns, we also identified Justin Ruggiano, and we were unable to sign him going into the regular season. But our scouts were always out in the field, and he had gotten off to a great start with Houston at AAA. And then when the Bonifacio injury came about, and we knew that the left-handed outfielders we had were going to play more, we wanted to go and get that right-handed bat, because at the time it happened, Kearns was also still on the DL. So it just made sense for us to go with Ruggiano. We had history with him. We had seen him play a lot. We liked his energy, the way that he played the game. Is a gamer when we use those words. We don't like to throw that around a lot, but a guy who gives you effort day in and day out and wants to be successful, and felt like he'd be a good fit with the left-handed bats we already had on the roster.
Speaking of Bonifacio, what's the latest? We've always maintained the last couple of weeks that the target is the first few games right after the All-Star break.
That is still the target. He's scheduled to see the doctor here next week, just to get that next stamp of approval. But you look at our offense and the offensive struggles this month, and that's probably another piece of it, not having the offense as we designed it in place, with that speed up top, setting the table for Hanley and for Stanton, and Bonnie was a big part of that, and the speed and the pressure that he put on the opposing team. And it'll be nice to get him back and get that injection of speed and energy back into the lineup.
Yeah, you use that word again, which I was going to ask you about. You talked about energy with Ruggiano, and that's certainly what Bonifacio brought every day.
Definitely, and that's who Bonnie is, and it's definitely infectious. Our guys feed off of that, and we will definitely welcome it back to the lineup.
Yeah, he was, even when he was moved to the 7 spot, the Marlins were 6-3 when he was in the 7 spot. He provided a spark to a part of the order that has struggled, the 5 through 8 spots.
Yeah, he definitely lengthened the lineup, gave the lineup a little more depth, gave Ozzie the opportunity to do some things that he likes to do, to be aggressive, to put the game in motion, to hit and run, to do some things that just changes the complexion of the game. It's not just the pitcher stepping up and throwing the ball and then guys fielding it. You're putting runners in motion. You're having guys move, creating holes, creating different things to hopefully help you score more runs.
2-2. And what an at-bat by Ruggiano.
Boy, that's a great at-bat.
A 9-pitch at-bat. He was behind in the count, 0-2.
And that's definitely good to see. With a pitcher like Cecil, this type of pitcher who likes to stay out of the heart of play, nibbles, changes speeds. Those kind of guys have always given us trouble, and you see Justin there staying back and serving one into center field.
Wasn't a bad pitch either, all those pitches, and then he stayed back on that changeup and battled and finally got a hit.
Yeah, our approach today has definitely been better with this type of pitcher, and you just have to be patient, and you can't chase pitches here, because that's when you're falling into exactly what he's trying to do.
Omar Infante was out trying to bunt for a hit his first time up. Ruggiano has some speed, though. Remember, he was picked off last night in game 1 of the series. Ricky Romero, who is now 8-1 with the Blue Jays. Romero got the win last night. It was a short start for Anibal Sanchez. Marlins need Josh Johnson to get deep in this ball game, and so far he's looked pretty good.
Been good too to see Omar Infante back swinging the bat the way he did in the month of April.
Yeah, that's unfortunate when you're swinging the bat well, you're seeing the ball well, and then you have a little hiccup. You're taken out of the lineup where his legs were bothering him. He had the hamstring issue, and I think that he lost his rhythm a little bit. Lost the rhythm, and it took him a little bit of time to get that back, and hopefully we're starting to see him get that back and be helpful for our lineup again.
Change up, he got it off the end of the bat. Count now 1 ball and 1 strike.
see if I can't bring a little offense to the booth here.
Well, if you can, then we've got a room for a third analyst for the rest of the season.
We can
My friend.
We can put Preston or Cliff on hold. You know, we can tell those guys to stay back.
We'll let Preston and Cliff go sit in the GM suite,
Hey,
and
those
you can
guys
sit here
know.
with us.
They know it's all about production.
Fonte going out of the zone, and it's fouled back.
You know what, though?
A
Good approach, though, because he clearly, with that pitch up out over the plate, looking like a changeup, was trying to hit a ball on the right side there with the hole open.
Definitely. You have to be patient. You can't try to pull that ball. As we see with those soft lefties, you try to pull that ball, you're just rolling over, and a 6-3 double play right there, kill a rally. So hopefully these guys are patient, and they're letting the ball travel deep and driving it off field.
1-2 coming. Slow roller at short. Escobar sweeps it, and the turn by Johnson is not in time. Good slide by Ruggiano. So 1 out. Fonte replaces Ruggiano. Here comes Gabby Sanchez. Here comes the answer. Final guesses. I'll go Joe Carter.
I'm going to stay with George Bell.
I'm going to go Tony Fernandez.
Let's see, and the winner is, hey. There we go.
You better be picked when you're the MVP.
That's quite a year he had.
That's when they had that outfield of Bell, Mosby, and Barfield. Jesse Barfield was in right field.
They punished some pitching that year.
I'll tell you, Toronto over the years has had some tremendous players.
It's a club you don't see much of just because they're up in Canada and up there, but they've done a good job.
Yeah, they've farm system wise, young players, and obviously to lose 3 starters out of their rotation is a big blow, but they seem to be hanging in there without Morrow, Draybeck, or Hutchinson. They hope that Morrow and Hutchinson can come back. Draybeck having to undergo Tommy John surgery.
Can never have enough depth, especially with your starting pitching. And you know that we've been fortunate with the health of our starting pitching. Bonnie going down, there are injuries over the course of a season. You know you're going to have to deal with it, and you're just hopeful that the guys take advantage of the opportunity, step up, and carry the load while their teammates are hurting.
Throw to first now. The Marlins minor league system, most of the prospects are Double-A or below. Can you give us a snapshot of the guys that have been the highlights for you?
Actually, our system in total has performed quite well to date. Our Greensboro club has had our first-round pick and second-round pick from last year, Jose Fernandez and Adam Conley, and those guys got off to a very good start.
Laurie Johnson turns it.
Couldn't get you any runs.
No. You gave it your best shot, though. It's kind of the way things have gone this last 2.5 weeks.
Now you know how we feel, Mike.
No.
Hang in there. It's 1-0. Blue Jays. career high. Just as the Blue Jays counted on Lori last night, you can count on Just for Men Auto Stop 4 foolproof results. Josh Johnson back to work. Blue Jays have a run, don't have a hit. It's the Subway fifth. Marlins don't have a run. They have 3 hits. JJ in the slider misses. Yunel Escobar, Rajay Davis, and Jeff Mathis in the 5th.
Blue Jays have had some interesting interleague matchups. They went 3-0 against the Phillies, but they were 0-3 against the Nationals. And by the way, contrary to what we were talking about last night, I saw where the Tampa Bay Philadelphia doubleheader is scheduled for tomorrow, for Sunday. We thought they'd schedule that today.
Maybe the weather report was a little better for tomorrow. Today it's a 4 o'clock start in Philly. Hard hit and a base hit. Escobar into left. Morrison cuts it off. Escobar has to settle for a single.
One of the few guys that's had a lot of history against Josh Johnson, not successfully. That's his 4th hit against JJ, 4 for 17 now. Of course, all the at-bats he had against JJ when Escobar was a Brave.
There's Davis now. It was Davis.
Don't be surprised, because we've seen them put things in motion for a hit and run the first couple of pitches here.
It was Davis who bunted in the 2nd. Blue Jays had runners at 2nd and 3rd, and Josh Johnson had to come off the mound to field it. He got it down the first baseline. JJ had to play at the plate. His throw was high and up away from the plate, and Brett Hayes, the catcher, had to reach up to get it. And by the time he spun around to tag Edwin Encarnacion had caught the plate with his slide. Escobar has just 1 stolen base this year. Up the middle, Johnson tried to kick at it. Ruggiano hustling to get it. And the Blue Jays have opened this 5th inning with a pair of base hits. Escobar and Davis.
There's somewhat of an out, though, for JJ. He's got a catcher coming up who's an under 200 career hitter, and then the pitcher.
I saw Davis adjusting that glove. It's kind of a fancy looking mitt.
Scott Podsednik style.
Yeah, Podsednik was a little more remedial. It was a batting glove with a lot of tape wrapped around it.
Podsednik looked like he made his in the garage. Davis looked like he ordered his.
I don't know that Podsednik's thumb stuck out of his, did it? Because if you were to use that and be Emilio Bonifacio, you would want some sort of support on your thumb. Mathis pops it up.
All right, that's the first good one. Here's what I'd be a little leery of with that type of glove. Let's say Davis slides in second base, and all of a sudden a fight ensues. You know, he takes out the second baseman or shortstop. Fight breaks out, he's got an advantage right there. He can slap somebody around with that thing.
You know, I don't know that the designers of that took that into account, but you might be right.
Well, now Cecil's going to be asked to drop down a sacrifice bunt.
Got Escobar at second, Davis at first, Gabby Sanchez creeping in at first base.
For as difficult as it is for American League pitchers to hit, I think it's every bit as tough for them to drop down bunts as well.
The other thing that's difficult for them is to actually pick up the signs.
Yeah, what's the sign? Let's see. We went over that a couple of weeks ago. This is a case where I'm sure John Farrell just told him, don't worry about signs. Your job is to try to drop down a bunt, even with 2 strikes, and move the runners over. So Brian Butterworth, the third base coach, doesn't matter what he throws down there. Butterfield. Did I say Butterworth?
You're thinking of breakfast.
Yeah.
Mrs. Butterworth.
Butterfield, long time. Baseball man.
Oh, 2. One and 2 now. See, Gabby had backed up a bit. And Cecil never even drew contact trying to bunt. JJ gets a strikeout on Fox Sports Florida. Every Sunday, it's Boys in the Hall, hosted by Tom Brokaw. This week, Larry Doby, and it's presented by Subway Restaurants. Breaking ball, the liner. Nice play. Just make the play, toss the gum. Look at that, Tommy. He lost it in the lights.
Ah, yeah.
Because, you know, if you're going to lose it in the lights, it's nice to have a helmet on. And he did.
Looked like Niner at Sun Life. Losing in the lights, still making the catch.
You talked about the escape hatch that Johnson had after the first 2 singles, Mathis and then Cecil. At the end of it, though, you get back up to the top of the order, and Brett Lawrie, who was popped out, flied out. And it's certainly not an easy out. Blue Jays made an adjustment to their lineup. They had Rajai Davis at the top of the order, but when John Farrell put Lawrie in the leadoff spot, Rasmus in the 2 spot, the offense has clicked. Laurie's on base percentage at .400 in the last 15 games in the leadoff spot. Driven center, Ruggiano back, reaches and got it! A tumbling catch! Justin Ruggiano saving 2 runs. Wow! In full flight, a dive and a tumble and a gem.
por Toyota.
Welcome back. It's a 1-0 Blue Jay lead. That was a routine catch, wasn't it, Cookie?
Well, absolutely. Just a piece of cake right there with Ruggiero in center field. What a play. That's a major league play.
Yeah, it's a great play with nobody on base, and the fact that 2 runs would have scored if he doesn't make this catch.
Absolutely. The ball was almost past him. He dove for it and caught it. I mean, outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. He's done a great job in center field.
And J.J. Cookie, Josh Johnson looks like he's throwing the ball pretty well today.
It sure has. His fastball is there. He's better controlling the zone, mixing the slider and the changeup here and there. I think they've done a great job, except that second inning where walk a couple of guys and without a hit, they score 1 run. The only run of the game.
Little by little, he's getting back to that form. Remember, before he left because of the injury last year, it seemed like every game in the 5th or 6th inning was when they were getting that first hit. He was taking no-hitters deep into games. Amazing that they were able to score that run early in the ball game, and the first 2 hits were just this past inning.
Brett Hayes against Brett Cecil. And he takes up. It's 2-1. There's Josh Johnson. Then you got top of the order, Jose Reyes.
Cecil has thrown a lot of off-speed pitches. I mean, his fastball is only 88, 89, but I think that curveball and the changeup have been hurting the Marlins.
Hayes got jammed, and for the second time tonight, pops it up. Now, before the ball game, trying to shake things up, we did a pick to click. Everybody got to pick a player, and once a player was off the board, you had to go somewhere else.
So obviously, I had the first pick, right?
I think so. I mean, I got the text, and already 4 guys were off the board.
Got to be quick.
Yep. Total bases and runs batted in. Right now, the crack staff. Now, the crack staff is already lobbying for a bonus point for the catch from Ruggiero.
Interesting. I think I would give it to him.
I will give him to him.
Let's just say this. We'll use that as a tiebreaker.
No question.
If it ends up a tie, we'll give him that.
Great
Absolutely.
idea. I like that,
it's great, Tom.
Okay.
All right. Richie.
All right, guys. Thanks.
You too, fellas.
Have a good one.
You too.
Josh Johnson takes a breaking ball for a strike. Now, J.J. walked back in the 3rd. The Marlins had their best opportunity in that 3rd inning. Bags loaded, 2 outs. Logan Morrison popped out. Cecil has used a couple of double play balls to get out of innings as well. JJ to center field. Rasmus is back, and he makes the catch. The Marlins 4 for 54 pack includes 4 tickets, 4 hot dogs, 4 sodas, 4 bags of chips, and it starts at just $54. The next 4 for 54 night is on Tuesday, June 26th. The Marlins and the Cardinals, individual and group packs available online at marlins.com. Now Reyes, who has walked and flied out. Cecil misses up high with a breaking ball. Bottom of the 5th, halfway through this one. Toronto a 1-0 lead, and just like last night, the Blue Jays getting that run without a hit. They've added a couple of hits, their first 2 hits of the game against Josh Johnson in the top of this 5th inning. Jeff Nelson, the home plate umpire, saying ball 3. Got Corey Blazer, Lance Barrett, Tim Cheetah, your umpires tonight, or today I should say.
Yeah, just a couple of day games, a couple of late afternoon games, and then a lot of night games.
Good breaking ball, 3-2.
One of the games that caught my attention last night is the Texas Rangers and the first start of the year by Roy Oswalt. And he pitched well, 6 2/3, gave up just 1 run, got the win over the Rockies.
Threw 110 pitches in that ball game. 3-2. Reyes breaks his bat. I think another start that should get the attention of the rest of the National League East is Jair Jurgen's start last night in Boston.
You know what? He went 7 2/3, gave up 3 hits and a run, filling in for Brandon Beachy. Yet at AAA, he was 3-4, and his ERA was over 5. But he certainly stepped it up and picked things up for the Braves.
The Marlins desperate to get a start like that themselves. Maybe they're getting it here today from Josh Johnson. JJ's given up just the 1 run through 5 innings. Reyes in the air to right. Bautista makes the catch, and Brett Cecil works a 1-2-3 inning. Runs have been hard to come by at Marlins Park. Lively bunch out of the concourse. You saw that Rajay Davis bunt. That produced the only run of the game. That Justin Ruggiano catch at the end of that sequence finished Brett Laurie and the Jays in the 5th and saved a couple of runs. Josh Johnson gets Colby Rasmus, Jose Bautista, and Edwin Encarnacion in the top of the 6th. Fastball fouled. Vladar Cholula hot sauce spotlight is on Colby Rasmus. His dad was a draft pick of the Angels. His brother a draft pick of the Braves. Colby the first-round pick of the Cardinals. Rasmus a big adjustment to his batting stance. We talked about it earlier in the telecast. JJ's out in front 1-2.
And he really needed to make adjustments because coming over to Toronto, he didn't hit well. As a matter of fact, his last 12 games with the Blue Jays, he was 4 for 45 to finish the season last year.
JJ misses low and inside. Now, Josh Johnson has faced the Blue Jays, not necessarily this version of the Blue Jays. Pitched in 06 and 09 against him. 09 was in Toronto. Good sharp breaking ball. And he polishes off Colby Rasmus. Here comes Bautista. He is struck out and lined out. Our Toyota Trends. 51 home runs on the road. And that's tops in Major League Baseball, which goes to show that it's not just the ballpark in Toronto.
Yeah, it's not just Rogers Center. hitting them on the road, too.
How long did it take you to say Rogers Center after having played in
just since last year?
Being a broadcaster.
It was always Sky Dome.
Being a broadcaster with the Blue Jays as well. Sky Dome, first retractable roof, wasn't it? In sports in the United States?
Yes.
I think in Europe, they may have had a retractable soccer stadium or two. So North America, first retractable roof. Pop-up, Reyes is calling for it, and he's there and he makes the catch. I mean, if the Astrodome was the 8th wonder of the world or 9th wonder of the world, Sky Dome has to be on that list as well.
Times I remember a game there, it was open and a rain shower came, and as they were closing it, it kind of finally came together above home plate, and there was a stream of water. The rain was coming down right around home plate, and they had to halt the game for a while.
Encarnacion has walked and lined out. Didn't check his swing. And it's 0-2. Boy, you talk about a much-needed quick pitch hitting. Josh Johnson, at just 84 pitches now, is through 6. But the Marlins trail 1-0.
Low-scoring game here tonight. The Marlins are playing their 37th game in this ballpark. Just before the series here, took some numbers to look at how this park compares offensively to the park the Marlins played in their previous existence, lastly known as Sun Life Stadium, as Hanley leads it off here in the bottom of the 6th inning. So is it a hitter's park? Is it a home run park? Well, it's certainly not a home run park, although the numbers, because of a few homers hit in the game yesterday, went up just a little bit on the right side there. Average, well, bigger gaps, 264 runs per game, actually up in this ballpark. Doubles close, slugging percentage very close as well. Number 1 in the league, homers 2.78 a game. That's Yankee Stadium. Coors Field is the slugging percentage leader, 493 since 1993 when the Marlins came into existence, and there have been 51 ballparks with at least 25 games played. That includes like Hiram Bithorn, for example, overall. So kind of interesting numbers. Of course, here is the story still yet to be told, as Tommy and Rich have talked about. With warmer weather, ball seems to be carrying better. We'll see if those numbers change as the year goes on.
All right, thanks, Craig. That one not carrying far enough for Hanley to get a hit. He got jammed by Brett Cecil, and Hanley pops out to open up the Marlins' bottom half of the 6th inning.
That's one of the things that Cecil has shown just enough of. I mean, we've seen the curveball and changeup, but just enough fastballs. He's run inside every once in a while to tie up a hitter as he did Hanley.
The Marlins have 3 hits, all of them singles. The Blue Jays have 2 hits, both of them singles. So it's been a pitcher's ball game. Brett Cecil, Josh Johnson, Giancarlo Stanton swings and fouls a changeup back. Johnson, in his 6 innings, 5 strikeouts and 2 walks. Cecil, 5 1/3, 3 walks, and just 1 strikeout.
I'll tell you, the last couple of innings, the slider has come alive for JJ. He's one of some good ones.
One and 2. .84-mile-an-hour changeup, that last pitch. Breaking ball, that one is popped up. Bautista in from right, makes the catch. A lot of pop-ups for Cecil, who's known as a fly ball pitcher. He's had a couple of double play ground balls to get him out of innings. But his last 5 outs have been in the air.
Now you have that good off-speed pitch, and the whole essence for pitchers is to keep hitters off balance, and he's had hitters out front, so you get a lot of pop flies that way.
And the man at the plate has popped out twice with runners on base. Bags were loaded with 2 outs to end the 3rd. Giancarlo Stanton was at first when Morrison popped out to end the 1st. Cecil is not an easy guy to hit today, as evident by the swings that the Marlins have had. They really haven't barreled up many balls. The Stanton single to right, probably the best one of the day.
Remember Hanley's base hit off the end of the bat. He broke his bat. Ruggiano stayed back on a changeup, hit it well, but not all that sharply. Certainly not as hard as the ball Stanton hit.
Blue Jays have that extreme Lomo shift.
This is incredible.
Kelly Johnson, the second baseman.
He could have a conversation with Bautista, the right fielder.
As we've known, that's as far as we've ever seen a second baseman. That's further back than Jason Kipnis was in Cleveland. And so it looks like the Jays are one of those teams that are into the extreme shifts, which sounds like a reality show. Coming up next on Extreme Shifts,
which could take on different meanings. I mean, it could be the group of guys who work the night shift, the graveyard shift, the day shift.
Morrison's hit by direction. Struck him out. Cecil on a breaking ball, and it's been a tough day for Morrison. And the Marlins, they do not have a run through 6 innings. On the Coors Light freeze cam, it would be 3-0. 2 runners on, 2 outs, no problem. Look at the extension, the reach, and watch him stick the landing. That's the 3rd out of the 5th inning, and that our Coors Light freeze cam today. Today, runs have been tough to get for both sides. But the Blue Jays got theirs in the 2nd, and they did it without a hit. A couple walks, sacrifice bunt, safety squeeze. Josh Johnson back to work. Slider misses down low. Kelly Johnson, Yunel Escobar, and Rajai Davis. Marlins are looking for a spark. Tommy, you and I are looking for a spark right now.
Mike Hill, who was with us in the 4th inning, looking for a spark. We mentioned at the very beginning of the game, no issues for JJ since May 9th. Since May 9th, Josh Johnson's 4-2 with an ERA at 2.73. He's right on track today, throwing tremendously. He just hasn't had any support.
Johnson flips it foul. You can remember the first month of the season, a lot of people scratching their heads saying, what the heck happened to Josh Johnson? He's not the ace that everybody remembered from 2010 or the first 9 starts last year. But I think you're starting to see that. And JJ with that darting slider down at the shoe tops.
That's an unhittable slider.
Jay and Lexus, our game reset. Just 5 hits, all of them singles. The Blue Jays, like they did last night, getting a run without a hit. Look at the Marlins offense. 2 double plays, 6 pop-ups. And that's how we've arrived here at 1-0 in the top of the 7th. Escobar has singled. And he has a sacrifice. There's the curveball that JJ mixes in.
He's mixed that, the slider, a few change-ups. You want to go down and run into the dugout and just yell, get this guy some runs.
See, not Tommy trying to create his own spark here in the booth. I like that. And that's without, ladies and gentlemen, a 5-hour energy for a Mountain Dew. Liner out at second, and Infante is there. It's one of the best balls hit by the Blue Jays in this game.
Just caffeine induced. That's it. A few cups of coffee. There you go.
See, you rely on that. For me, today it would probably take maybe Cleveland or Cam. Maybe Cam or 12. If I could get a little of that, get us over the hump.
Hey, whatever it takes.
Rajai Davis.
Caffeine's safer for me.
Touche. That's not quite camera 12, but that's close. The Clevelander is packed. Hello, everybody. Oh, 2 pitch. JJ misses down low.
That's what he's been able to do so well, though. When he misses, he gets ahead. He was trying to get Davis to chase that slider. He buried it off the plate, out of the strike zone.
He's got 6 strikeouts. Now he's got 7. He strikes out Davis. Johnson getting better as the game grows longer. The Marlins, as Tommy implored, need to get him some runs. 1-0 Toronto. Land Rover's shortest game summary of the season.
Well, it sure is. This happened in the second inning. A walk to Edwin Encarnacion. Another walk to Kelly Johnson. Nice bunt, drop down. JJ with the play, runners at second and third. And Rajay Davis drops out a bunt. The angle for JJ was a tough one. He had to turn the opposite way.
Ruggiano with a bunt.
Speaking of bunts, that could be the theme in this one. Nicely done by Justin Ruggiano.
Marlins have their fourth hit and their leadoff runner aboard. Cecil was in a nice groove before this.
That's heads up too on Ruggiano's part. He's a guy that they don't expect to bunt, so the third baseman, Brent Laurie, was playing back. Ruggiano spotted that, knew he just had to get it down. It didn't have to be a perfect bunt, and he starts things very well.
Now you've got Infante, Gabby Sanchez, then Brett Hayes, and of course you've got Greg Dobbs on the bench as well. Infante out trying to bunt for a hit, bounce into a fielder's choice. Blue Jays bullpen is active, and Cecil chases Ruggiano back.
No, it's interesting. We were thinking about and showing that play that the Blue Jays scored their run. And at the time, I said, well, you try to just take the out in the first inning. But maybe in the back of his mind, JJ knew it was going to be a struggle for his offense. He was trying to shut down the run.
Saw Jason Frazier in the bullpen.
Good combo for a hit and run. I don't know if Ozzie wants to put on some plays and shake things up with the offense. Haven't seen guys try to steal against Cecil. Doesn't have a great move. Has that snap throw we talked about.
Ruggiano, remember, got picked off by the lefty Ricky Romero yesterday. Big breaking ball misses out.
And this is always a very common hit and run count, 1-1.
Infante a hit yesterday. That hit was a home run, a 2-run shot. Working on a small hit streak of 4 games. Hammered down the line, into the corner. Ruggiano racing for third. Into the corner goes Davis. He's going to score. Ruggiano all the way in, and Infante has tied it.
Forget about the hit and run. How about a double into the corner to tie the game? Five-game hitting streak now for Infante. Got the changeup up middle of the plate. This ball is stroked well and a long run for Davis. And that allowed Ruggiano to score from first base.
So the Marlins get a bunt hit and an RBI double, and it's a 1-1 game. Pitching change for the Blue Jays. Infante. Now on that sequence, Brett Cecil took a long time, and it almost sounded like Omar Infante called for time. Yep, he said something.
It looked like he started to ask for time, and because Cecil was ready to throw, he didn't get it. And so the key is that he stayed ready to hit. A lot of guys will ask for time, and they'll lower their hands or they'll step out. But Infante stayed right there, was ready for the pitch, got himself a hanging changeup, and drilled it into the left field corner.
It's amazing when you're going bad and you need a little something to go your ways. You look at Jason Frazier, the right-hander. That's a little something that goes the Marlins' way. If Cecil had not started his motion and Jeff Nelson had granted time, who knows what would have happened later on in the at-bat. But as it was, Cecil had just started. Nelson didn't give him time, and Infante drills it for a double. Now Gabby Sanchez. There's nobody out, and the Marlins obviously would love to get this runner over.
Now we get to that point in the game where last night we saw the Blue Jays with some great situational hitting. Now the Marlins are in that situation, if you will, trying to do the same thing here. Frazier with fastball, slider, occasionally a changeup, but mostly fastballs and sliders. Good effort. Gabby showing that he had an idea. He was thinking. He was trying to hit a ball to the right side.
But of course the hard thing now is it's 0-2. And Frazier has an idea of what Gabby's trying to do.
Now it becomes a lot tougher with 2 strikes. By the way, Infante, remember in Boston we talked about his long stretch without an RBI. This is his 3rd straight game now with an RBI, and he had gone the previous 23 without one.
Frazier steps off. 1-1 ball game. Marlins finally have a run. And this ball game finally has an extra base hit. And that's the Infante double. Time called, and Sanchez steps out. 3 for 4 last night with a home run. 0 for 2 in this one. Infante at second. And he drills it to the right side. Nicely done.
Great job.
Now you can really see him outside pitch, and it's nice to hear the fans recognize that here in Miami.
That's just an outstanding job, and especially with 2 strikes. But clearly, Gabby went up there with an idea. He knew what he wanted to do. He knew what he needed to do, and he got the job done. Now, that's the first stage. Now it's up to Brett Hayes. By the way, we've seen is a very good punter, so you cannot rule out a possible squeeze.
Hayes has popped out twice. Both of those at-bats were against Brett Cecil. So you've got Infante at third base, Hayes up there. Correct me if I'm wrong. Have we seen Ozzie Guillen squeeze this year? I don't think so.
Not that I remember.
Greg Dobbs has emerged on deck.
Then again, you and our crack staff have better memories than I have.
Hayes fouls it, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike. Luis Perez.
You got to always be thinking ahead. If you're Ozzie Guillen and the Marlins score this run, this go-ahead run, before you have to pinch hit for Josh Johnson, you go ahead and pinch hit for him.
It's a decision Ozzie would love to have to make. It's fouled back, and the count's 1-2.
JJ's at 95 pitches and really has been stronger. 6 of his 7 strikeouts have come in the last 4 innings.
As desperate as the Marlins are for runs and a win, my guess is if Hayes doesn't get this run home, Dobbs hits.
Well, certainly if he doesn't. But what if he gets the run home? That's my question.
I think JJ's out there at the plate and coming back out for the 8th. You see Johnson putting the arm guard on, which is an indication. I think Ozzy's thinking right along with you. Be ready to hit, because if the Marlins get this run, I want you out there. Hayes now with a count 1-2. And he swings and misses and strikes out. That's a huge out for Jason Frazier. And that's going to end the day for Josh Johnson. Here comes Dobbs now. Now remember, in the ballgame last night, it was kind of an inconsequential at bat. Dobbs grounded out. But the Jays had a shift on. Dobbs standing in now. With Infante standing at third.
Yeah, with Infante at third, they don't have that same shift. Dobbs actually hit a ball right up the middle. And they had the shortstop, Escobar, was right there.
There's Infante. He's tied the game. The Marlins advanced him to third, but they couldn't bring him home. And so Dobbs, who's had so many big hits, climbs in. A man that has his game face on when he's driving to the ballpark. Takes a fastball for a strike.
What do you think about that strikeout? We talked about it last night. The Jays scored 6 times with the runner at third, less than 2 out without a hit. So the struggles continue for the Marlins catchers. In the month of June, Marlins catchers have 1 RBI. That was on the John Buck home run the other night in Boston.
Jason Frazier has been a part of the Blue Jays bullpen for a long time, although last year he finished the year pitching for Ozzie Guillen and the White Sox. And that one tails away. He'd been a Blue Jay from 2004 all the way up until 44 games worth last year. He's always been a durable, dependable, and over the last few years, a pretty darn good middle reliever. He was out in front 0-1. Now Dobbs has worked it to 2-1. Frazier misses outside. You got Reyes on deck.
Yeah, he's missed with fastballs. You have to think 3-1. That's certainly what Dobbs is going to look for.
Jeff Mathis, the Blue Jays catcher. 1-1 ball game. Marlins have a run here in the bottom of the 7th. Dobbs with a 3-1 pitch can be selective. Reyes waits. Dobbs going after a high fastball. 3-2.
Went out of the zone a little bit, but tough to lay off that pitch. 3-1 when you're guessing heat and you get it.
John Farrell, former big league pitcher. Frazier ready. 3-2 coming. And he got him. High fastball. Dobbs strikes out. The Marlins leave that go-ahead run 90 feet away. And now they turn to their bullpen to try to keep it at 1-1. Inning now, trying to get the Marlins off this slide. Everybody got a pick to click in this one. Tommy, pay attention. I want you to see who's at the top of the list.
Omar, I see that, Rich. Nice going so far, but there's a little bit left.
There is. There's still plenty of time.
Don't count that change yet.
No. No actual money went into the pick to click. Steve Cishek out of the bullpen. And this is an area where, for the Marlins, it has not been the smoothest of drives lately, and that's middle relief. At one point this season, it had been a strong point, but the Marlins, of course, melting down Thursday night in Boston, blowing a 5-3 lead. Last night, Ryan Webb giving up 6 runs in his 2 innings of middle relief. And Steve Cishek takes over for Josh Johnson.
What a great 3 days it was for Steve Cishek up at Fenway to revisit where he had gone one time as a youngster, but growing up about 75 miles from Boston.
Jeff Mathis sprays a grounder to the right side. Infante throws the first, 1 out. Here's Craig Minervini. Craig?
Well, we are with the man known as Dr. Fan, because you've been to now 76 ballparks since 1947, and this is number 76.
This is number 76. All of them that have been in use since that time, including the novelty sites like Tokyo, Honolulu, Monterey, Vegas, Jersey City.
Get to Puerto Rico at all?
I got to Puerto Rico for the Jays opening game there, yes.
Keeping score of the game, too. Yes. And why have you made this kind of a passion?
Well, I have the time, have the interest. I do it so I can represent all the fans in the country and in Canada who can't get there, who can't afford it, perhaps. So I do this for all of the fans who admire Major League Baseball.
Do you put anything out publicly?
In what sense?
You write about it?
I have done some writing about it, and mostly public speaking, since that's has been my profession.
Communication professor for sports broadcasting as well.
Sports broadcasting.
Where did you teach?
This was mostly at Southern Connecticut State in New Haven. My public speaking team spent 11 straight years in the top 20 in the nation.
Nice. Your thoughts on Marlins Park? And
it is unique. It is wonderful. It has been Jeffrey Loria's dream. I've known that. I was in high school with him.
Really?
Absolutely. He was all-star infielders, I recall, for Stuyvesant High, and we're very proud of him.
Neat. And of the old parks, what sticks out since you've been going since 1947?
Well, the old parks, of course, the classics are Fenway and Wrigley Field, but I do miss the Polo Grounds. I grew up there, basically. Yes, and Ebbets Field, of course.
Nice to visit with you. Last thing, you have a favorite team, favorite team to watch or favorite park?
I'm neutral, like the umpires. That's the right thing
Neutral?
to do. Neutral, absolutely. But I love the Marlins broadcasts on television. You folks have the best of the 30 broadcast teams in the majors. I'm not just saying that. I watch you on MLB Extra Innings. So the guys in the booth, you are superb, as is this gentleman.
Dr. Fan, thank you very much. We didn't interview you for you to say that, but we appreciate it.
Well, you're quite welcome, and I do mean it.
So he says he's neutral, and he has a hat with no logo on it. So I guess we got to believe you. Thanks a lot.
Right. Thank you. You're welcome.
All right, Dr. Fan.
Rich, we need to save that clip for arbitration.
That's a good point. 2 outs. Brett Laurie is up. I mean, coming from just anybody, you always say thank you for the compliment. Coming from a Dr. Fan, a guy that is a professor in sports broadcasting. Not that you or I ever went to any sports broadcasting classes, but we'll take it. We like it. Brett Laurie is aboard. Cishek got the first 2 outs. Ground balls from Jeff Mathis and David Cooper, who was pinch hitting for the pitcher Jason Frazier.
All right, be careful now with Laurie at first base. A couple of things. He has 10 stolen bases, but he's also been thrown out 8 times.
Yeah, that 8 times caught stealing leads the American League.
But he picked up a steal and scored a run last night. Scored 4 runs, but one of them after he stole.
Cishek to Kobe Rasmus. Rasmus, an 0 for 3. There's a look at Laurie. It was Laurie who hit that drive to center. The catch by Ruggiano, which is getting bigger and bigger as this game goes along. Ruggiano's diving catch came with 2 on and 2 out in the 5th. And it easily would have scored the 2 runs. Escobar and Davis, who run well. Ruggiano going back, making a Jim Edmonds type catch. See, Dr. Fan may have used Willie Mays in that analogy. We're in comparison. We go with Jim Edmonds.
We don't want to go back that far. I think maybe more fans would be familiar with that great Edmonds catch.
Ground ball, and that's through into right field. Stanton picks it up. Laurie is steaming to third. And now the Jays have runners at the corners. And you get into one of the most dangerous hitters in the American League, and Jose Bautista.
With the man on first base, this ball just gets by. Nobody on base. Gabby Sanchez is probably in that area to make a play, but the other thing you start thinking about, you look back at that second inning, what caused the run was 2 walks. And all of a sudden a 2-out walk here, and Laurie's at third after that base hit by Rasmus, and things get a little tougher.
Bautista all coiled up at the plate. Drives one to center. Ruggiano stays on his feet for this one and makes the catch. And Cishek a scoreless 8th, 1-1 Marlins Blue Jays. Tomorrow, the Marlins and the Jays play on a family Sunday. Rich Welch along with Tommy Hutton. It's the Heath Bell kids jersey tomorrow.
It's a nice jersey.
But Wednesday, you get the Josh Johnson bobblehead.
Yeah, that's nice. I like the bobblehead.
JJ.
Even got JJ tapping the glove a little bit like that.
Authentic. There's the glove tap there.
Yeah.
And Josh Johnson, outstanding in this one. 7 innings, the 2 walks, the blemish, I guess, on his line, and that helped lead to a run by the Blue Jays. But here we go into the bottom of the 8th. Blue Jays dipping into their bullpen, and Darren Oliver, who has been in the big leagues a long time, a nice run lately with the Texas Rangers. Darren Oliver comes out of the bullpen. And the Marlins have the top of their order. Reyes, Hanley Ramirez, Giancarlo Stanton.
Darren Oliver, 41 years old, in his 18th Major League season.
Reyes trying to pull that pitch, fouls it off.
What has really helped him over the last few years, number one, he's left-handed. He's been throwing a nice cutter that he uses quite a bit. But as a Marlin in 2004, he appeared in 18 games. And 8 of those as a starter.
His father was a big leaguer, Bob Oliver, an infielder. Reyes pops it up, first base line. Bautista is there, and he makes the catch. And a frustrating day for Jose Reyes. That's the 3rd time he's hit either a pop-up or a fly ball to Bautista.
Yeah, you look at the body of work for Darren Oliver is incredible. Just have to go back to last year with the Texas Rangers. He had a great season, 61 games, had a 2.29 ERA.
He's a guy that has had better numbers in his late 30s and early 40s than he did in his late 20s, early 30s.
He's one of those guys, Rich, and I say this positively, not as a negative, but he's one of those guys. He comes into pitching a game and people go, he's still pitching. Yeah. Darren Oliver, he's still around.
He and Arthur Rhodes are similar guys. Hanley takes outside. Nissan leaders of the game. Late and close, go ahead runs batted in.
Well, Hanley had a 2-for-4 night last night. 1-for-3 so far here today. That's a take. We were talking about that a week or so ago, that Hanley's going to take that pitch all the way, but some would rather see him take it and take the same approach as if he's hitting and not just stand there. Got another pretty good pitch to hit.
Two and two. Oliver steps off. Bottom 8, 1-1 ball game. Marlins, Blue Jays. Darren Oliver, second out of the pen for John Farrell. And a fastball. This is out, and it's 3-2. Heath Bell is ready in case the Marlins take the lead. In fact, he may come in and pitch even if the Marlins don't take the lead. Although with the bullpen extended, you might want to coax another inning out of Steve Cishek. Bouncer out towards short. Escobar has it and throws out Hanley Ramirez. You can take the Marlins with you wherever you go this season. Subscribe to MLB.tv today and see every Marlins out-of-market game live on your favorite device in HD quality. Visit Marlins.com to order and get more details. MLB.tv, baseball everywhere.
It's amazing when you watch Darren Oliver. He got in on Hanley, jammed him, tied him up. full cut fastball. He's throwing 88 miles an hour. Even that last one, a pretty good pitch to hit. There it is again.
Yeah, and Stanton, obviously halfway through that swing, tried to abort the mission and couldn't stop the swing. And that cut fastball really seems to be running in on the right-handers. And he figures he tried to cut it and catch the corner. Down goes Stanton. The Marlins quickly done in the bottom of the 8th to the 9th, 1-1. Jays and Marlins. Time now for the Coors Light Cold Hard Fact. All-time series, Marlins have won 17 of 22 meetings, but as we said, it's hard to read anything into that because this version of the Marlins is very different than the last version that played the Blue Jays. And Steve Cishek staring in.
That's certainly the Blue Jays version, different than what the Marlins saw too.
Cishek steps off. Blue Jays have Edwin Encarnacion, Kelly Johnson, and Yunel Escobar scheduled here in the 9th in a 1-1 game. The Blue Jays sit 2 games over 500, trying to weather the turbulence of losing 3 of their 5 starting pitchers. John Farrell's done a nice job of keeping it together. And on the other side of the diamond, you've got the Marlins, who are in a very different spot. A team that was in first place coming out of May into early June, and then has hit a patch of 16 games in which they've won just twice. And here's obviously a winnable game, a game that's 1-1 in the 9th.
And to show you how things get frustrating, you and I talked about this as we opened up the telecast. What the Marlins needed was an outstanding start from Josh Johnson. He did that today. He held the Blue Jays to 1 run. He was just terrific the way he threw 7 innings. And yet today, the offense that had scored 5 runs a game the last 4 games, today the offense is shut down.
Steve Cishek, 1-2. Breaking ball, fly ball, left field deep. That ball is gone, and the Jays have a 2-1 lead. If the Marlins bullpen was not as overworked as they are, you might have seen Heath Bell pitching here in the top of the 9th. A Clevelander home run. You saw the reaction from Cishek. He knew it as soon as it left the bat.
Yeah, and we've talked about this duo, Bautista and Encarnacion, back-to-back, number 21 for Encarnacion. Bautista with 23.
Now Kelly Johnson takes down low. But the Marlins bullpen has obviously had to work a huge chunk of innings lately. 3.5 innings from Anibal Sanchez. Last night you had the short start by Zambrano on Thursday night. 3 1/3 from Nolasco on Wednesday night. And so Ozzie trying to get 2 innings out of Cishek, who gives up the home run to Encarnacion.
And that's a great point too, Rich, because we so often talk about when you're the home team, you can use your closer in the 9th inning of a tie game, because then you get that last at bat and then you see what happens. But in order to do that, you have to know you've got some backup ready down in that bullpen.
Ryan Webb off limits. Chad Godin off limits. Mike Dunn had worked in consecutive nights. Remember, Mujica got roughed up on Thursday night in Boston. "3-2. Liner into center field. That's a base hit. And so a home run and a single here. Yunel Escobar, and the Marlins are going to get somebody up in their bullpen. Marlins Live, brought to you by Checkers, is coming up. They may have no choice but to come get Cishek here. See Guillen walking down the dugout. Hayes trying to get him through it. Randy St. Clair jogging out. And it's Mujica.
They have a slew of right-handers. The next 3 hitters, all right-handers.
St. Clair's going to take as long as he can. Jeff Nelson, the home plate umpire, still standing behind home plate. I'm surprised he hasn't come out. And so St. Clair figures, I'm just going to buy some time, let Mujica get loose. Now he jogs to the dugout. Cishek is left to face Escobar. And you got Kelly Johnson at first. And as we've seen last night and today, the Blue Jays aren't afraid to start a runner either on a straight steal or a hit and run. Kelly Johnson could steal you a base. He's got 7 of them.
Bottom line, the first 2 games of this series, the Blue Jays have been a much better situational type team. Cishek not real quick with his move to first base.
Pitch out as Escobar squared. And they count 1-0. He squares again.
Don't be 100% sure he's going to bunt. He may just square early to show that and then bring the bat back. He might be bunting.
Drops it down. Hayes makes a nice play to get the out. The Blue Jays, as they've done both games, move the runner up. Rajay Davis. And then you've got the catcher spot with Jeff Mathis.
You could put down a clinic out of the way John Farrell's ball club is dropped down bunts, gotten runners in from third, less than 2 out.
The Marlins are going to walk Davis. You got Mathis up, who was 0 for 3 in this one. His average is hovering at the 200 mark. The inning opened with Edwin Encarnacion jumping all over a Steve Cishek breaking ball and hitting it into the Clevelander.
As far as pinch hitters for John Farrell, he has Aaron Sebia, McCoy. They're both right-handed. The only left-handed bat he has the switch hitter Omar Vizquel.
He's already used David Cooper. And it is Vizquel who is on deck. It's a balk. And both runners will move up. Home plate umpire Jeff Nelson. Let's watch it.
A lot of times a pitcher will just do this move and turn and go, but he never really turned completely. He kind of stopped halfway and never really made his look to second base.
No argument from the Marlins bench. You can see the infield has to come in now against Mathis.
A lot of teams would squeeze in this situation.
Well, they used the safety squeeze and it produced a run in the second. It looks exactly what John Farrell was doing there. Mathis trying to push the bunt to the first base side. He's got a base runner with pretty good speed at third base too in Kelly Johnson. And that's one of the keys to this play working. See if he's bunting again. Marlins pitch out, but it's not a straight squeeze. And I guess the question is, if you're a corner infielder for the Marlins, how close do you creep here?
You got to sneak in a little bit. You hate to make it too far because you have a guy up there who's a below 200 hitter in his career. Marlins thinking suicide squeeze again.
John Farrell holds all the cards right now, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does with the count 3-1.
Mathis squares, puts it down. Runner's coming. Cishek bobbles, and the Blue Jays do it twice. There was no secret to what Toronto was trying to do, and they did it.
It's an area that we saw last year that still needs some work from Steve Cishek, and that's his fielding. We saw him have trouble last year making throws. He has the play in front of him. If he picks that ball and flips to Brett Hayes, they have a real good chance of getting Kelly Johnson. But never really had control of the ball to flip it. It'll be a sacrifice, an RBI, and an error charge to Steve Cishek.
3-1 Toronto in the ninth. here in the ninth. Edward Mujica. And now you've got Mujica in the ball game. We just saw the Blue Jays for the second time bunt home a run. You have one of the greatest bunters in baseball history
yeah,
standing at the plate. And that is Omar Vizquel. 45 years old.
And you have great speed at third base.
And Rajay Davis. Mujica.
So it would not be a shocker to see them pull off the same play.
You know, they've done it twice with a runner at third, and it's not been a suicide squeeze. It's just been a safety squeeze, and it's worked both times. Infield's in. Vizquel, swing and a miss. Runner goes. They take the base. John Farrell surveying the infield.
And in the case of the last run, you look at the way they've executed, and they've done it. The Marlins had a chance to get the out to stop the run.
Vizquel pulls it foul.
But they didn't execute.
Omar Vizquel surprisingly productive at 45 in his 24th season. Hit 250 last year playing for Ozzie and the White Sox. Spent 2 years in Chicago. Vizquel, little ground ball to third. Hanley coming home. The tag by Hayes. And out at the plate is Davis.
Rajay Davis going on contact. Fortunately for the Marlins, Hanley right there. Comes up with a perfect throw.
So runners at the corners. Vizquel at first. Mathis now at third base.
Omar Vizquel closing in on 2,900 hits.
Yeah, Vizquel with 11 Gold Gloves, you got to think is a Hall of Famer in the Ozzie Smith.
Absolutely. In my mind, yes. I've heard others debate that, though, believe it or not.
I don't think I've seen a better shortstop in the last 20 years. Have you? I mean, I know Tulowitzki right now is pretty darn good. Laurie gets hit. Bags are loaded. Here comes Rasmus. So this inning has featured an error, a balk, a sacrifice bunt.
They've made a change.
They've taken away the error on Cishek. It was just a straight sacrifice bunt. Unfortunately, they can't take away the balk. Because that balk really accelerated the inning.
Well, it changed the whole complexion of the inning because the runners moved up.
2 outs. Rasmus is 1 for 4. And Mujica now, the count 2-0. Mujica last pitched on Thursday night, and he was greeted by Will Middlebrooks with a 2-run homer. And that erased a 2-run Marlin lead. The Red Sox would win that ball game 6-5. Still working out the kinks on bullpen camp.
But that was Casey Jansen, their closer.
Rasmus, right field, deep and gone. That is a grand slam. And the Marlins, who seem to be inventing new ways to lose ball games, have seen The Blue Jays scratch out a couple runs, and then a blast. The Warren Henry drive of the game. A grand slam by Colby Rasmus.
Boy, the home run ball has really bitten Edward Mujica the last couple of times. Remember, he gave up that home run to straightaway center to Will Middlebrooks at Fenway Park the other night.
Seven, 1. Six-run ninth.
They saw David Ortiz hit a grand slam the other night.
That's one of the longest home runs by a left-handed bat that we've seen. Bautista singles the left. One of the longest home runs we've seen by a left-handed hitter in Marlins Park.
Yeah, off the facing up there near that second deck.
Remember, the inning opened with the man coming to the plate, taking a 2-strike breaking ball from Steve Cishek and hitting it into the Clevelander. And he smokes one into left. And right now, Mujica isn't missing many bats, and he's not fooling anybody. I mean, all three balls have been hit hard. And you go back to Thursday night, the Middlebrooks 2-run homer. Daniel Nava with the RBI single was the game winner. Here's the flight path of that grand slam. Watch it just brush.
It literally flew Avianca, that home run.
So Encarnacion has 2 hits in the inning. And a nightmare of an inning it has been. Here's Kelly Johnson. We talked about it in Boston. The Marlins had lost a 15-5 game. And at the end of the series, they had that 5-3 lead going into the 8th. And the discussion was the pain of a loss can vary depending on the loss. The 15-5 game, it gets out of hand, it gets out of hand. But the 5-3 lead lost in the 8th in Boston, that's painful. To watch Josh Johnson go out and pitch the way he pitched in this one, and then to give up so far a 6th spot in the 9th, adds an extra dimension to the word pain.
You almost throw your arms up in the air and say, okay, now what? Now what do you do? You ask for the nice start from your starting pitcher. JJ gave you that.
Kelly Johnson strikes out. 6 runs in the 9th for Toronto. 7-1 Blue Jays. presented by AT&T, the nation's largest 4G network. AT&T, rethink possible. And by Checkers. Feast on. Dark clouds above Miami, and inside Marlins Park, it's pretty dark as well. The Marlins having dropped 14 of 16, a 1-1 game. They got a great start from Josh Johnson, but it all unravels in the top of the ninth. Casey Jansen, the closer for the Blue Jays, is in, and he misses outside to Logan Morrison. The Marlins in a 6-run hole going into the bottom of the ninth.
On their way to losing 6 in a row and going 4-16 in June.
Boy, and this really feels like the old adage, just when you think it can't get any worse, it does. Jansen catches the corner. Jansen, a veteran, 7 years in Toronto. Shares something in common with Jeff Conine, a former pitcher at UCLA. Morrison swings and misses.
And a guy who, as you saw there, kind of herky-jerky and will use everything. That time he herked and jerked and threw a pretty good curveball to get Logan Morrison.
Justin Ruggiano.
The one bright spot today offensively and defensively.
Little tapper up the line. But you think about the would-haves, could-haves, should-haves. If the Marlins get the run home, in that 7th inning, the whole sequence, the whole bullpen sequence sets up different. You have Heath Bell coming in. To pitch that 9th inning, but the Marlins couldn't get the run home. Swing and a miss by Ruggiano. They had Infante at third with 1 out, and Brett Hayes was up. And Hayes struck out against Jason Frazier. And Ruggiano goes around. And so the Marlins, down to their last swings, it's Omar Infante. To short. Escobar. And the Toronto Blue Jays have the first 2 games of this series, and this one really, really stings. Colby Rasmus, a grand slam in the 9th, capping off a 6-run top of the 9th. The Marlins waste an outstanding effort by Josh Johnson. And it does get worse. 15 of 17 now, the Fish have lost. 7-1 Blue Jays. Now the Marlins fall 5 games under the 500 mark. This a big sequence after a pitch by pitch.
Tried to work outside. Mujica did. Good fastball there to get the first strike, but then down out over the plate. That's as they say in Colby Rasmus's happy zone.
Rasmus with a grand slam. The Blue Jays had already scored a couple that inning, and it's the difference. 7-1 the final. Marlins live next.